Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai, Kol Laim Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamalak Yahushai, Bashem Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles of elsewhere in Millstone, peace, citation, hope for elect, Shalom. And Lord willing, I come up with a title for this video, but I'm just going to go into the lesson on how there's a thing when it's coming to the Supreme Court now, and they pretty much allowed it to where corporations have a license to steal your pension plans. And it says in this article, the Supreme Court just gave corporations a license to steal. The courthouse door was just slammed shut on workers and retirees whose pensions get broke. And now they could have it to where the pensions that they promised you, they could just take all that away. And basically, all the promises that they give you, they could say as though, like, you know, something happened, or they lie and they come up with some bullshit excuse sometimes. And honestly, that's pretty much really just thievery. And that's not keeping your promises. But that's the thing when it's coming to working for the devil. You know, Jake take a lot of pride in saying that, oh, I work for this for the so-called white man, and that how because they work for the so-called white man, when we're talking about Jake working like 20 to 30 years to 40 years, and they feel as though, you know, they earn some sort of like some honor for doing that, for being a slave in this man's system for that long. And then it's like, you see how Esau just plays you. You know, some of you Jakes, y'all gonna fall right into that snare of the so-called white man. A lot of y'all believe in a lie, and some of y'all gonna just get played for believing in that. It says in the 1987 classic film, Wall Street pension funds make a brief but important appearance. As Gordon Gekko hatches a plan to steal 6,000 airline workers' retirement savings, an angry Bud Fox asks Gekko how much is enough, a question warning the audience about unbridled greed and the financial vipers in our midst. 33 years after the release of Wall Street, it seems U.S. Supreme Court saw the film as a guidebook rather than a cautionary tale in a landmark ruling last week. Brett Kavanaugh and his conservative cadre undermined workers and retirees who might try to start Gekko's scheme at their own companies. In the process, the ruling may have short-circuited a separate case that Wall Street was fearing. And it says, some background. In the last 2 decades, class action laws have forced large employers to pay out more than $6 billion in cases alleging fraud and mismanagement of workers' retirement savings. At the same time, financial firms hired to manage that money have been skimming hundreds of billions of dollars of fees of the pension fund while delivering subpar returns. Last week, one report found that private equity firms which manage pension money have raked in more than $230 billion of performance fees in the 10 years, while delivering returns that did not substantially beat a low-fee stock index fund. Preventing employees of financial firms from robbing workers' pension funds is critical because the consequences of inaction can be devastating. The more stealing, the more fees, and the more underperformance, the more pressure there is to cut millions of workers' promise benefits or have companies declare bankruptcy. In the case of public pension systems, benefits can be slashed or taxes can be raised on everyone to backfill the losses. So, other than that, I'll just get into some scriptures, and if y'all want to read the rest of this article, you know, you could just pretty much type it in Google. I might just leave it in the description, Lord willing. Make this lesson edifying for the hopeful elect by going to the scripture now. And it says, Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 14, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Exactly. And this is a curse for the nation of our people. You know, I was bringing out this in camp pretty much on Tuesday afternoon about how this country that people love so much, which is America. This country is not a resting place for you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. This is your captivity. And because this is your captivity, the Lord promised that he will bring you into Egypt again with ships, right? And this place is bondage. This whole American dream, even these Edomites, they're not even seeing the future in this country no more. They're starting to see the downfall of this country, and they're acting like demons nowadays. They're going as far as trying to get Jake in trouble. They're going as far as becoming Karens. And it's like they're trying to act all like this just to get the benefits that they once were entitled to having at one point. And they're realizing that they're losing it all, and that's what making them become like devils now. And honestly, these Edomites, they don't deserve the stuff that they got anyway, because they got it off the bloodshed, sweat, and tears off the nation of our people, which are the so-called blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, the Israelites. And when it's coming to a lot of these Edomites, they're struggling to pay their bills, they're struggling to pay off their debts, and then some of them are even going as far as committing suicide or becoming pretty much a full-blown serial killer once they see the whole system fails them. Like them losing their houses if they can't pay their mortgages, and then what they do is they go to the job and do a whole killing spree. Then they sometimes will maybe kill everyone in their family or kill themselves, or they just go as far as just killing themselves. And that's the curses that's starting to happen upon the so-called white man. And it's beautiful seeing that, because at one point our people going through all this bullshit and this unfair system, and then it's like now they're catching the curses. But this is obviously a video that's mostly pointing to our people, mentioning that this is not your rest. So let's just stick with the topic, and I'll bring out another precept. Micah chapter 2 verse 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. Exactly. And that sore destruction is pretty much going to the mental afflictions that you will receive just for thinking that this land is your rest, thinking that you could be a part of the American dream, thinking that there's still some hope in this land. There's no hope in this land, man. That's what happens when you do what? When you put your trust in Egypt. You see? That's your pretty much your downfall, honestly. The scripture said it in Isaiah chapter 30 and 31. That woe unto them that trust in Egypt. There's death and destruction. And that sore destruction is going to that woe. Because that's what woe means, death and destruction. So how you going to trust in this land that's supposed to be the land of your captivity? A lot of people even go as far as trying to have a false philosophy, thinking that this land is a promised land, and it's not. Because this land was pretty much meant to be Babylon the Great, as it was mentioned in the scriptures, and it was meant to be destroyed, for all the abominations that's happening in the midst. But just gonna bring out another precept that goes along with this topic. So Isaiah chapter 30, it says verse 1, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel but not of me, and that cover with a covering but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Exactly. And it says, verse 5, they were all ashamed of the people that could not profit them, nor be an help nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach. Verse 7, for the Egyptians shall help in vain and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Exactly. And, the help that these modern Egyptians, which was the so-called white people, which would be the biblical Edomites, you know, because this is like Egypt all over again. So this is pretty much talking about, our people trusting in their oppressors, and that's what our people do. Because people in general, like when you come into majority of people, they follow who's in power. So people, when they're carnal in the sense of seeing the power right there, and they become like, especially women, they're very hypergamous. So they're definitely gonna follow who's in power, who they see as a power. So that's how it is. And because they see that the so-called white man is not keeping their promises, they end up feeling devastated. And then it's like you're gonna feel even more of that devastation when you see Esau for what he really is, you know, because that whole thing of saying that the white man is a devil, when the white man pretty much doesn't work in your favor, for you jakes in the world that have let's say a love-hate relationship with Esau, like one minute you love him and the next thing you know you're like, you can't stand these white people sometimes. You're gonna see that calling him a devil is not no damn catchphrase, that he really is the devil that the Bible speaks about. And that these Edomites are the children of Satan. And y'all gonna see that in these end times when Esau comes down with that great wrath. That tells you in Revelation, the 12th chapter. And basically the shadow of Egypt is like following after the ways that Egypt, the wickedness that they push forth, you taking pleasure in doing after the ways that's highlighted in this place, that's heavily pushed. And then y'all jigs go as far as trying to work hard in this kingdom thinking that you're gonna get somewhere, and it's like you have inflation and these celebrities that's out there trying to live this facade, this uh false lavish lifestyle. And the reason why I say it's false, because it's like, even though they have all these goodies, they have all these you know luscious lavish expensive materials, like the clothing, their assets, their whole estate, it seems to be pretty much coming from a wealthy person. But at the same time, all that nice things that they have, they're still puppets to the elites. You know, they got to do all this wickedness. You don't see what they're doing behind closed doors, and then you hear about it. But then it's like, you know, even when you hear about it, it kind of turns your stomach. But it's like some people don't believe it, and even then, it's like we don't know what they completely do, like a full exact detail of what they do, because some of them may speak about certain things and it only is just scratching the nail in the surface on the detail about what they actually do. So they don't go in full exact detail, specifically mentioning every single thing that they do in a full account. But in the kingdom, it's like we will have that knowledge of knowing what they did, to get all those riches. And even then, it's like a lot of these celebrities, they still sometimes get caught up on tax evasion, or they still get, jail time for certain things. So it shows you that they're still a slave. You thought you escaped the curses because you became famous. And a lot of times when you see these women out there that try to get with these celebrities, they try to impregnate get impregnated by them. That's what they try to do, so that they can have a kid and put them on child support. So it shows you celebrities, y'all don't even have the power, because if y'all did, these women will be in their right state of mind and they wouldn't even think to do something like that to you. Because that's for brothers in this truth, for the Isaiah 4:1, when that time comes, these women that come to brothers, Lord willing, for part of our number, you know, if I'm part of the number that they come to us, like, we're gonna go as far as like not having to deal with any woman that's gonna talk back in that day. They're gonna be getting straightened out and getting in order, you know. And that's the time they're gonna get right, because they know that they need a man for their salvation, and not just any man, that they need a man of the Lord. And that's gonna be a man that's of high value in that day. Let's go into some other. It says, verse 30, chapter 31, verse 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord. Exactly. And when you look into these Edomites, they can't do a damn thing for you, Jakes. You know, like, yeah, they have the money and all, but at the same time, it's like, you really think they're gonna help you and get you out of the affliction that you're in? Hell no. They're gonna seem like they try to help you, because they give you those little gifts that destroy your heart, that try to keep you from being in this truth. They just feed you little bread and circus. But at the same time, they don't care about you, Jakes. They want y'all to be destroyed. You know? They want you to still believe in the bywords that they're giving you. They don't want you knowing that you're an Israelite. They want to keep this truth from you as far as possible. They want to, you know, have it to where you're supporting his kingdom. They want you to continue to think that you're a so-called black person, that this country was made for you, that you could be like this and strive to be the so-called white man, and that how, you know, when things don't go right, that you could protest or whatever and try to still look up to the so-called white man like he's gonna help you. And then he may do little things here and there to may seem like he's trying to help, you know, comfort you, but it's like he's not really seeking to pretty much do what he's promised to do, that he promises to do. You know, that's why scripture tells you in the book of Sirach, chapter 12, that you should never trust thine enemy. And Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 12 says, for thus saith the Lord, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. Exactly. And the lovers that have forgotten thee is talking about, you know, the other nations, because they don't give a damn about us. You know, they over here making money off of us, and that's all they want us to, you know, for, is just basically the profit off of us. That's why they have their businesses in our communities. And then it's crazy when you see that the so-called black man, it's like it's so hard for him to own any damn thing, especially in New York. Like, it's really hard to have any black-owned businesses there. And even then, if you have a black-owned business, you still got to pay taxes to the so-called white man. You know, and then you still got expenses to pay as well, and other liabilities. by companies that's ran by the so-called white man, which is Esau. Scriptures always promise that you're going to be subject to payments everywhere you go, and that's a curse. Haggai 1:6 says, Ye have sown much, and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. Exactly. So Jake chasing the bag, talking about making that money. You basically idolizing the money over the Most High. You don't even want to give a portion of your time to the Heavenly Father. Then it's like, you want to chase money and go into clubs and spend it on hoes and spending on things that fulfill your lust in the flesh. Well, I got news for you. Jacob's trouble, all those things are gonna collapse. That same hoe that you idolize so much, her ass gonna get raped. Her ass gonna get put down, and the Most High is gonna try to her like the Maya of the streets. The money that you worship so much, that shit gonna go down. That's gonna collapse. That's why the money's being inflated. Every dollar that was previously printed was worth more than the one that's currently printed. And every dollar that's currently printed is worth less than the dollar that was previously printed. Meaning that inflation is rising and it's at an all-time high. And it's continuing to rise. And then the money that you have is not even real money. It's fake. Paper backed up by nothing that has intrinsic value. So the gold and the silver has been stripped from the dollar. And then as well as other things that you jakes lust in the flesh, that's just going to go down too. Because we all know that through the spirit, your idols, for you niggas in the world, you don't idolize the Most High. You don't idolize Yahweh Shai. You idolize money, hoes, and drugs. And then these celebrities that you idolize that push those type of idols in front of you. Going to the concerts, spending all this money to go to these parties, going to these clubs. That's pretty much all you jakes idolize. And all that shit's gonna go down because in that time, in Jacob's trouble, we're gonna see if the idols that you spend so much time on, we're gonna see if that's gonna profit you in that day. The Most High is gonna put all of y'all to shame for taking all that time and pleasure and doing fleshly things and doing something that of the spirit, which is to come into this understanding, this truth when you have the time to. I'll bring out another precept that goes along with this. Baruch 3:8, for behold, we are yet this day in our captivity where thou hast scattered us, for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers which departed from the Lord our God. Exactly. And the subject to payments going into the liabilities that you have to pay, expenses that you have to pay. You gotta pay for so much. Like, you gotta pay all these damn bills, and they got you paying like so much to where you hardly have anything left in savings. It's like you pay so damn much, you hardly have any money to try to, do anything on the side. And even then, if you have a little small online side hustle or like a small business hustle, it's like that hardly profits you anything. So it shows you that why, pushing for this truth to, being in this truth, it's like, you should be pushing more and more, because it's like we all working like slaves and you have nothing no time in this world to enjoy the BS that um that's in this world. Genesis chapter 3 verse 15 says that I'll put enmity. This is between the thee and the woman, and that's talking about the serpent and the nation of our people, because the woman going into talking about the nation of Israel, because Israel is a comely woman to the Most High. It tells you that in Jeremiah. And it says, in between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Yeah. And there's scriptures that goes along, like precepts that I brought out in my video, talking about how the Most High shall put enmity between thee and the woman, between the woman and the serpent. Serpent going into the nation of Esau, and the woman going into the nation of Israel. And there's other precepts like in Revelation that go into talking about the woman that brought forth that man child, and then that woman is the nation of Israel that brought forth, Yahweh Shai, because he came from the nation of Israel. So I don't want to make this lesson too long, so I already pretty much taught it in my previous videos, so that pretty much goes in talking about the breakdown of that, because when it comes to the scriptures, you don't want to make some lesson too long. You just want to make it straight to the point. Jake got a short attention span, so, and plus there's a lot of things that us brothers do on our own time, so it's like we only have a short amount of time. We don't got all day to be studying too, so, but we try to do the best we can through the Spirit. And then it says, verse 17, and unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Oh, wait. No, verse 19, it says, in the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for thus thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Exactly. So we basically went as far as working hard as a slave. That was the future, judgment that was to happen to our people, where we have to work for our enemies in the want of all things. It tells you in Deuteronomy chapter 28. We got to work off our ass off. And then on top of working our asses off, we're subject to all these payments. And it's like we making crumbs. Like it tells you in that parable with Lazarus and the rich man. Lazarus representing the nation of our people, the rich man representing the so-called white man, which is Esau, and then the dogs representing the heathen nations. Basically, we're in that Lazarus position, and that's the state and condition of Jake. These celebrities, they got a small slice of the pie, and then when it's coming to the majority of Jakes, they out here, they got these crumbs that fall off the rich man's table, and then the dogs, which are the heathen nations, they looking up our sores. Basically, they're benefiting from the condition that Jake is in, because it's like, before our people work together on trying to like come together to support their own businesses and things of that nature, they over here supporting their enemies so much. So our people are not even united, and it's like we're pretty much cursed. But that curse is biblical, because it all goes back to what chapter? Deuteronomy 28. So other than that, that's pretty much it on that. And hope you made the lesson edifying. Let's give all glory, praise, honor to Adonai Yahweh, Ba'ashem Shalom Lak Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Tabana to the positive of great most on peace, I teach and hope for lack, Yahweh Shem Shabbat Shah, Shalak Ram, Adam Woman, Wako Yam, Baba Shalom.